Have you ever wondered if those secret conversations people whisper about the ones that could reshape the value of the Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong are actually happening right now? What if I told you they might already be taking place quietly behind the scenes, with major players and serious money at the table? For more than 5 years, I've been tracking currency moves and watching rumors slowly turn into real developments. And today, we're diving into the Franc 26 revelation that has the entire revaluation community buzzing. If you've been holding dinar or dong and waiting for that big shift, this video could completely change your perspective. Stick around because by the end, you'll know what to look for, how to prepare, and just how close we might be to a major currency shakeup. Let's kick things off with Iraq, because what's happening there could set the tone for everything. According to the latest from Franc 26, there have been secret high-level talks in Baghdad and beyond. These aren't your typical meetings. Word is that Iraq's central bank is working hand-in-hand with international advisors to figure out how to boost the dinar, its value and global standing. If that's true, it's huge news for currency holders. Because when a country starts those kinds of discussions, it's often laying the groundwork for something much bigger. What makes this even more interesting is that some of these talks reportedly include outside financial experts, people whose involvement adds a lot of credibility. Franc 26's update also points to Iraq quietly testing different exchange rates in select regions. Imagine certain local banks adjusting their buy and sell rates, just slightly small moves, but potentially big signals. That's the kind of behind-the-curtain testing central banks often do before major shifts. They try things locally, measure reactions, and fine-tune before rolling out wider changes. Many watchers believe these small tests could be soft launches of a revaluation in limited areas, a way to gauge the impact before going nationwide. If that's accurate, those small shifts might give us early hints about where the official revaluation rate could land. But these quiet discussions in Iraq aren't happening in isolation. Franc 26 says Iraq is also working to reduce its dependence on the US dollar for domestic transactions. That's a major move because when a nation steps away from dollar reliance, it's often trying to strengthen trust in its own currency. If that's truly happening, it could mean Iraq is confident the dinar is getting stronger or is preparing for a significant change. Add to that the way Iraq is managing its oil revenues, thinking more long-term and less short-term, and you've got all the signs of serious financial reform. When currency planning aligns with better resource management, it usually points to something big coming. Now, let's shift to Vietnam and the Vietnamese Dong, because a lot of what's happening there mirrors Iraq's trajectory. Vietnam's economy has been growing fast, and according to Franc 26, the leadership knows the timing might be perfect for a bold move. The State Bank of Vietnam is said to be quietly coordinating behind the scenes to prepare for currency adjustments. Some reports even suggest they re-strengthening ties with major global banks, the kind of relationships needed if a country wants its currency to trade more freely or gain global traction. Another big sign is Vietnam's economic transformation. It's no longer just about low-cost labor. The country is building up high-tech industries and services that add real value. That kind of economic shift makes a currency more stable and respected. Combine that with paying down debt and increasing foreign reserves, and the foundation for a stronger dong is definitely forming. If both Iraq and Vietnam are truly setting up for this, we could be seeing two countries running parallel paths toward a revaluation. Going back to Iraq for a moment, Franc 26 also mentioned tech upgrades in their banking sector as a key part of the plan. Does that make sense? Because a stronger currency demands solid infrastructure, faster international payments, stronger compliance systems, and upgraded cybersecurity. Iraq is reportedly spending heavily on these improvements, and that's not a small deal. It takes money, planning, and coordination with global systems, all signs that something significant could be around the corner. Vietnam seems to be following a similar playbook. Franc 26 says they're rebuilding digital banking systems capable of handling much higher volumes and tighter international connections. If that's accurate, these upgrades aren't random. They re-preparation for the dong to become more active in the global market. One of the biggest questions dinar and dong holders always ask is, when? Franc 26 is careful about this. He reminds people that reevaluations don't just flip on like a light switch. There are legal, regulatory, and global steps involved. But he believes Iraq and Vietnam are now in the late-stage prep phase, the part right before things start rolling. That doesn't mean it's happening tomorrow, but it does mean we might be getting close. Frank 26 advises holders to prepare now rather than later. That means organizing your paperwork, proof of ownership, and making sure you know which banks or financial institutions in your area handle international currency exchanges. Not every bank does, and not every branch is equipped for exotic currencies. It's better to be ready ahead of time than to scramble when the moment arrives. He also points to changing regulations in both countries, Iraq and Vietnam, updating financial laws, compliance policies, and transparency standards. Those are exactly the kinds of moves required before currencies can open up globally. There's even mention of IMF involvement, which, if true, signals serious credibility and intent. Let's talk about market signals too. Frank 26 notes that dinar and dong dealers are seeing rising demand, not just from everyday investors, but from larger institutional buyers. When big money starts showing interest, it usually means they sense something's brewing. Some dealers are even expanding their exchange operations, another sign they expect heavier activity. On the geopolitical front, both Iraq and Vietnam seem to be positioning themselves smartly. Iraq's been stabilizing politically and building better regional relationships, which builds confidence in the dinar. Vietnam's growing influence in Southeast Asia and increased participation in trade agreements give the dong a stronger global profile. These factors matter. Currency strength relies heavily on global trust and perception. Frank 26 also stresses the importance of education. Too many holders get caught up in wild speculation or unrealistic expectations. A revaluation doesn't happen in a snap. It's a complex, step-by-step process that involves international coordination, laws, banking systems, and testing phases. The more you understand, the better you can avoid being misled or panicked by rumors. Holders who stay informed and patient are the ones who will benefit most when real changes unfold. So what does this mean for you, the dinar or dong holder? First off, handle the basics now. Get your documentation organized, make sure everything is verifiable, and know where you can exchange when the time comes. Second, don't stress over every rumor. The real moves might happen quietly. Third, remember this is a process. Even when it starts, it could take weeks or months to fully roll out. Patience is key. There are always risks. Nothing is guaranteed. Governments can delay, global markets can shift, and not all chatter turns into fact. But the alignment we're seeing, tech upgrades, regulatory reform, economic shifts makes this moment feel different. Here's a quick recap of the top 3 action points from Frank 26's update. 1. Make sure your currency holdings are properly documented and legal. 2. Identify which banks or exchange platforms can handle dinar and dong transactions and set those relationships up now. 3. Stay informed and realistic. Understand how these events work so you can act calmly and confidently when the time comes. Even if things don't play out exactly as predicted, the progress happening in both Iraq and Vietnam still puts holders in a potentially stronger position. To wrap things up, the Frank 26 revelations about secret talks and quiet preparations in both Iraq and Vietnam might not be perfectly confirmed. The signs pointing toward something major are stacking up. Between financial reforms, tech investments, policy changes, and global positioning, both countries seem to be moving in the same direction. If even a portion of this is accurate, we could be closer than ever to a real currency reset. So for all the dinar and dong holders out there, stay alert, stay prepared, and keep your expectations balanced. The next few months could get very interesting. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, share it with fellow holders, and drop a comment about what stood out most to you. And don't forget to subscribe for more updates. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the next one, where we'll dig even deeper into this developing story.